What does March the 13th mean to you? Yeah, that is what today's podcast is all about. It's a solo with me, and we're talking about March the 13th this year, when many things happened. According to my content planner, March the 13th, 2019 is No Smoking Day, Earmuff Day, Jewel Day, and Open Your Umbrella Indoors Day. But also March the 13th this year was when the Facebook family of apps went down. And I know that sounds quite dramatic, but if you, like me, spend a lot of time on social media, working on social media campaigns, how to utilize social media better, it was quite a stressful old evening, let's say. So I want to talk about actually why the crash was a good thing. Didn't feel like it at the time, completely understand. But actually we can learn a huge amount from the fact that Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp and Messenger were affected by this crash. It wasn't a planned maintenance issue. It had a huge wide-reaching effect. Actually, according to my research, it was the longest time that Facebook has had this kind of outage in its 15-year history. So I'm not saying it's going to happen again tomorrow. I don't know. I don't think anyone could predict the future like that. And I'm sure that out of everybody, Facebook was the least happy. But let's talk about why actually we can take this crash, which was obviously very flipping stressful for all concerned, and we can build on it, and we can use what we've learned and the stresses caused and the potential vulnerabilities that something like that has shown us to help progress our businesses, whether we are a blog, an influencer, a business, a brand, a personal brand. If you use social media and you're trying to grow a following, if you are trying to promote your blog, if you are trying to promote yourself as an influencer, if you are a small business or a brand or a large business, it's important to really think about what some of our favorite apps, some of the things that are now such a fundamental part of our marketing plans not being there means for us. So I am not going to sit here for the next however many minutes and tell you that social media is bad and we shouldn't be using it, because quite frankly, that would just be crazy. Social media is the most incredible tool, and we are genuinely so lucky to have this free resource available at our fingertips where we can connect to, the latest figures for Facebook, I think there are around 2.2 billion monthly active users on Facebook. And there's over 1 billion monthly active users on Instagram. So that is an insane amount of people that we have access to through our platform. So it doesn't mean that we can pick a random person and go for them, but it means that actually, if you think about the whole few points of separation thing, there was something with, there was a more recent how many degrees of separation. So it used to be 7, I think, between you and everybody else in the world. Could have been 6. And now it's a much smaller distance. There's only a few leaps there. And it's, having social media as it is has massively helped to reduce the degrees of separation between us and everybody in the world, which is incredible. So I'm not here to tell you that Facebook and Instagram and all the other social platforms you use shouldn't be used. Absolutely not. They should be used. They should be utilized. And when I think back to when I first started doing PR and helping businesses with their promotion, and we didn't have social media, it was just a completely different animal. Obviously, you were massively reliant on magazines if you were in our industry, but in bigger businesses, radio and TV and billboards and those kind of things would have also been a real option. And it's expensive. Advertising in a magazine, even now, is expensive, and it isn't always the best way to spend your money, especially if you have a limited budget and it's there for a certain amount of time. If there's a typo, it's there. There are lots of flaws with magazine advertising. There are some massive perks, especially if you work with the right magazines, but it wasn't always the most straightforward thing to do. It was expensive. There were lots of issues with it. And if you had a product that you brought out and you wanted to promote quickly, it was incredibly difficult to do that, because all magazines have lead times. even ones that actually have quite close lead times, you're still looking at between the 1st and the 15th of the month preceding publication for a regional magazine. And if you think about that versus now, you can get a product in if you are selling something, and it can be online and promoted through your social media channels within, how fast can you type? It can be that quick. Equally, we didn't have vloggers, because how would that vlogger have actually spread that message? We would have had bloggers, but again, getting people to know that the bloggers existed before social media was really, really difficult, because there was nowhere to drive that traffic. So you've got Jane, who is a blogger in Norwich, just picking things. How is Jane in Norwich going to connect with, oh gosh, it's like a name challenge, Mandy in America, or Joan in Australia, or even someone who lives 3 miles away from her, because they wouldn't have been able to connect through similar interests or similar loves in such a global way as social media. So as I'm going through these points about things that we can learn from the Facebook, Insta, WhatsApp, Messenger crash, don't think I am saying, so therefore you should only do this instead of social media. You should be doing this in addition to your social media. You should be building your own stuff that you own, that you are confident in is going to be yours, and that's yours. Facebook and Instagram and all the other platforms, unless you're Mark Zuckerberg, you don't own them, and that means you have no control over them. Obviously, I'm not saying that that outage was, well planned and thought through and everyone was excited about it happening. Far from it. I don't know the details. From everything I've read, I think it was to do with something moving from one place to another. I'm not a techie person, we know this. But what if it disappeared tomorrow? What would you have a good business then? Or would you not have a business at all? And that's what we need to really think about and use what has happened to our advantage. Here we go. I just wanted to check that. Facebook said the outage was a server configuration change. There we go. I said changes. I just wanted to get that really clear. So obviously it doesn't sound like a planned thing, but if Facebook disappeared tomorrow, I can't imagine for a second it would. Or if there was an outage, or if your account got blocked or something like that, you want to make sure you've got your own stuff going on, your own hub, your own home, your own way of contacting your fans and followers. And that's what I want to talk about today. So the first thing I want to talk about is websites. Now, I have got in a few weeks' time a really good website podcast recorded with I keep saying my man Ray. It's not his name. He's just called Ray, which is really, really good. He's from Worcester Web Studio. And he's going to talk to us a lot more about websites. So I'm not going to go over that in great detail here. But what I'm saying is that having an online hub that's just yours, that you control, is really, really important. So whether this is you have a WordPress blog, and you can get these for free if you have WordPress in the title, or you can just buy your own domain name and have the blog for very little money. And if you're a little bit techie, or you're happy to learn, you can do amazing things on your own with WordPress. So that can be free or a few quid. Or I think you can have, I've never used a Wix website, but I know they always promote themselves as free. So it can cost you very, very little to get a website. Obviously, if you want an all singing, all dancing, flashy banging one, it will cost you a bit of money. But at least if you've got all your stuff on a website that you own, that you design, that you control everything about it, it's yours. And that's really important. It means that the design won't change overnight unless something's gone horribly wrong. And it means that your content's there. If your page gets blocked or removed for some reason on Facebook, you've lost the content. Obviously, not if it gets blocked, if it gets removed. But with your blog, it's there. So having your own online home, even if it's just somewhere that you share, let's say if you're a vlogger, you could maybe put your videos there, you could embed them from YouTube. So you've got that information there. Maybe you post blogs there rather than just putting them as a long form post on Facebook. Maybe you link it to all your social accounts, but you've got that hub there that is yours, that you can promote, that you can work on your SEO on, that you can drive people towards if they want to read more of your blog or watch your video or anything like that. But getting yourself some kind of hub that you own is a really good reason. It's a really good thing to do. And I think if one thing the Facebook Insta crash did was provide another really good reason to do that. The next thing I want to talk about is your mailing list. And again, this is something that I'm working on growing at the moment, so I'm not an expert on this, but I tell you, when everything crashed, it did give me a real kick up the backside to do more with it. So having a mailing list that allows you to contact people who are fans of yours, who follow you, who want to know about the content you're producing is crazy easy to set up, and it can be really good. Even if you only have a few people on that list, they are people that are happy for you to communicate with them. Obviously, be really aware of GDPR here, and you have to make sure they've actually signed up. But something like MailChimp, which I use, there are others, but I personally use MailChimp. They have got GDPR guidelines and compliant forms that have the double opt-in and all the wording. So go and see them if you're interested. And also, talking of mailing lists, with MailChimp, you can get one set up for free if you have under 2,000 subscribers and you don't send, again, there's limits on the number of subscribers and the amount of times that you email them a month, but it's still pretty high, especially to get started. So I use MailChimp, but there are loads of others. I've used MailerLite before. I don't have a particular affinity to any. It's just I use MailChimp, but there are free options out there. You can get sign-up forms set up, which are really easy to do. They've got really good guides there on their website, and obviously, YouTube is amazing for that, for helping you set up pretty much anything. So again, if you want to make sure that you can communicate with your customers, especially if you're a business, please do this, because it terrifies me when I see people that rely solely on social media for their selling, for all of their marketing. You've got to have your own system set up. You've got to have that way that you can communicate with people. So maybe you have it so your email list subscribers get the first look at any sales or promotions or special offers. So there's an incentive there for them to sign up, and it means that they can get the biggest bite of the cherry on whatever you're doing. But think about it. Think about how you're going to do it. Do it correctly, please, because if you don't, it means you can't use the data, which is basically a waste of everyone's time. So again, like with social media, think about the quality of the list, not the size of the list. So even if you've just got 10 people that have signed up to your list, that's a really good start. That's 10 people who have said they want to hear from you, that they want to know about your offers. And that list will grow in time if you incentivize them, give them a good reason to sign up. So why should you be cluttering their inbox? What value are they going to get from it? Think about it really carefully. But having a number of people that you have that access to, that you can send your new products, your new exciting things to. If you're a blogger, you can send them new updates. If you are a vlogger, you can tell them when new episodes are out. Is really, really valuable. And that list will grow over time. It used to be that people had massive lists, and it would be, when you worked with different publications, they say, oh, well, we've got a mailing list of however many thousands or even hundreds of thousands. And I would always say, okay, that's great. What's your open rate? Because you can have a list of 100,000, but if your open rate's 2%, it's pretty rubbish, isn't it? As in, it's still be 2,000 people. But actually, I'd rather that people had a smaller list with a greater open rate and a greater amount of click-throughs that show that people are actually engaged in what you're doing, than having a massive list that doesn't really have any value, because there's been some pretty, dark tricks in the past where people have bought lists and things like that. And there's nothing to say those people are going to actually care at all about what you are trying to promote or talk about. So grow a list. Don't worry if it starts small. Everyone who's doing it correctly starts with the list size of 0, and then they work their backsides off to grow it. So do that. Just start. So MailChimp's really simple to get set up, but there are other ones, and it might be worth speaking to a few people and getting their opinions as well. But get yourself a mailing list set up, put yourself a form together on your website, and then look at ways to actively grow that list, which we've talked about. So incentivizing people with it, they get the first look at special offers. Maybe they get to hear about special offers. Maybe you do gift guides for them. You tell them when your vlog or blog's out. Just simple things like that give people a reason to sign up. That's what you want, because I know my inbox is full of random stuff, and I'm now really careful about the lists I sign up to, because I want to open my inbox and be inspired or interested at the very least about all the stuff that's there. So to me, that's a real game changer. Make sure that you are working to grow that list too. And again, it doesn't have to be something that is all consuming, but if you can plot out some time to grow that list. So even if you mention it on your social media every week, every few days, well, obviously make sure you do it correctly and it's not all the time. Change your site, change a little button underneath your header image on Facebook to sign up here. You know, do these little things just to help you gain more fans and followers. So what I do, for example, is on my website, I've got a freebies section. If you haven't been there yet, it's a great place to go. And I've got 2 freebies in there. They're a really good way for people to sign up to my mailing list, because the people who sign up to my mailing list get access to the freebies I create first, or they get access to exclusive information. So people need to, you know, if people want to get access to that information and get access to additional freebies, that's the place to go. So yes, think about ways to get people to sign up to your list too. Think about how you can incentivize them. Think about how you can get them interested. So I have got a freebies area on my website. If you go to riafreemanpr.co.uk, there's a freebies section, and those downloads I've created for my email list. So people can sign up through those freebies, but they've been created for my email list first and foremost. And they're the people that get the things that I create. They get the help. They get to know about when I've got a new podcast out. So to me, that is one way that I encourage people to sign up to my list, because I say, look, I do produce these things that you can benefit from. This is a really good place to do it. So obviously be really aware of the GDPR rules, and that, I say, that's a really important thing. But you can still grow a mailing list. You can still build a mailing list, and you should be doing that. It's a really good thing to be doing, even if it starts really small. The next thing I want to talk about is your real life connections, because we hide behind our screens and we type away, and that can really hinder our ability to go out and meet people. So I am not the biggest one for things like networking events. I've never been to a networking event. I've been to, obviously I do events. So I do the Hi Home & Co event, which I guess is basically a networking event, although I do help run it. So I do things like that. I do go to events, but I wouldn't go to some of these other events, these like networking events, because it's just not me. But I do go to events and meet people face to face. When we're at badminton, I have a Small and Supercharged meetup on the Friday afternoon. So that is a really good chance to meet people face to face. And I think if the crash of the Facebook apps encouraged us to do anything over again, it would be to make sure we're putting in that time to go and actually speak to people in real life, to meet people in real life. Now, I know we're all super, super busy, and I'm not saying that you should go along to every cup of coffee that you're invited to by somebody who wants to pick your brain. I hate that phrase so much, because that's not good business sense either. Your time has a value, and I completely get that. But it does mean that maybe going to events like the Hi Home Co event or coming to the Small and Supercharged meetup could be really valuable for you, because you get to put faces to names, and people buy from people. The best way to actually form connections and form friendships is when you see people face to face. And it just adds a whole different level, because when you're talking to somebody online, I mean, obviously, as you know, if you follow me at all, I am as I am on social media. I don't put on any pretense. I don't even use filters, which I probably should do. But I am exactly how I am on social media. And I think there's definitely a big movement for everybody to be more like that. But still, not everybody is quite as they seem. But when you meet them face to face, any kind of mask slips quite quickly, and you can work out whether you really want to spend time with those people. And it also means that actually you can form some really, really great connections, some really good ideas that you can then carry on chatting through Messenger or WhatsApp or email. But it means that you've got the face-to-face connections. And that, to me, if I can meet somebody and I very quickly work out face-to-face whether they're my kind of people, whether it would be a good thing for me to spend more time with them, what I can learn from them, what they can learn from me, what their goal is, what their angle is if they have an angle. I can usually work that out really, really quickly, like in seconds in person. But online, you get to edit, you get to rewrite things, and it's not always quite the same. So if the crash has encouraged anything as well, it should be to go and make those connections in real life, in actual person. Because we do lose that a little bit with social media and the digital world we live in. And it's a great time-saving trick to do it all online. And I do a massive amount of work online because it means that I can speak to people. I mean, I work with an amazing lady in New Zealand. I'm probably not going to be traveling to New Zealand to work with her, but we do so much via Skype or Zoom. And, when she comes to the UK, I will, of course, go and meet up with her, and that'd be incredible. But it does allow us to work in an international way if that's what we want to do. And it allows us to carry things on. And rather than doing a 3-hour car trip, it's a case of ringing someone on FaceTime for a chat. But we need to make those face-to-face connections first. So I'm not saying social media is bad. I think it's the most incredible tool, as I said at the start of the episode. But it's important that we understand its limitations, we understand we don't own it, and we take what happened with the great crash of 2019 and we use that to our advantage, because when everything stopped working, for many, it meant that their businesses didn't exist for that period when the crash happened. Yet we use social media to communicate with people, to chat, to chew the fat, I think that's a phrase, to share funny things, to motivate, inspire, all of the above. But it's also a valuable business tool for some people. And when it went down for hours, for people that didn't have their own websites, their own mailing lists, and hadn't built those connections, they had no business. It literally went away for a few hours, and it was nothing to do with them. They didn't know when it would be back on, if it would be back on, and it just vanished. And that is terrifying. I literally wouldn't be able to sleep at night if that was my business. It's really important to me that I have plans A, B, C, and D set up. And if you're relying on plan A, and especially a plan A that you have no control over whether it's there tomorrow or not, that is not a solid structure for your business. That is not a good idea. So just think about it. And even if you just do a few of the things we've talked about, well, do all of them. They honestly won't take you much time, and they're there for when you need them. Don't underestimate social media. It is an insanely good tool. We are so lucky to use it. But you can use social media to help fuel all of your own stuff that you're creating too. It's not a one or another thing. It's that one should support the other. And the social should be supporting your own hub that you own. It's so, so important. Please, please think about it really seriously. So that is today's podcast about why the Facebook Instagram crash was a good thing. Which is probably a subject I didn't really think would be something I'd think about as positive, because I know when it crashed, it was not a good evening for me. I was quite stressed about it because I wasn't sure whether it was my stuff that had broken, whether it was a Wi-Fi connection issue, whether it was any kind of connection issue, whether it was just me. It was quite a stressful time. And it's quite funny that when these things happen, people always revert back to Twitter, which I always feel is like the kind of old school social. So it's always quite funny to see when the other platforms break, everyone takes to Twitter to ask, which does make me smile. Poor Twitter. So yeah, it wasn't good when it crashed, but I think it's really important to learn from these things and make sure that we've used this as a kind of warning and gone, right, okay, that was scary, but we're good. Now, what's going to happen if this happens in the future? How can we prevent this being a potential catastrophe for our businesses? Because we're foolish if we don't do it. If it happens again and we haven't made any provision, because it did happen before, we've got evidence it happened before. It's not like a fictitious thing that might not happen. It did happen. It may never happen again. And brilliant. That's great. But all these things that we've talked about today, they will still be massively valuable for you. If you'd like more support with this, do pop along to the free Small and Supercharged group, which is where we have lots of like-minded business people, influencers, entrepreneurs, brands, you name it, predominantly in the equestrian or country sector, but anyone who's got any ties to that area is very, very welcome. Well, anyone's welcome, to be honest. But generally, if you've got a horse or a dog, or you work outside, you'll be absolutely at home. And if you'd like even more support, I do have my paid for membership group called the Small and Supercharged Mastermind Group, which is also on my website. If you look at the top, it says Mastermind. And the people do incredible things on there. It's such a lovely community. And yeah, you'd be very, very welcome to join. Thanks so much for listening this week, and we will catch up very, very soon.